Greetings and welcome. If the spirit moves you, would you please follow if you're listening and subscribe if you're watching with either like and comment, as I'm your grateful host, Dan Riley. At the start of the previous century, a remarkable woman was born, yet widely still unknown today. Her birth name was Mildred Norman. Raised on a poultry farm in New Jersey, her early years were typical of the times. She was popular in school and smarter than most. Mildred was the captain of her high school debate team and class valedictorian. Although raised without any religious affiliation, she had a reputation as always striving to live life by the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It was the years that followed high school when her life became unusual. The golden rule might have been her starting point, but it was during this period she began a much deeper push into the spiritual world. In addition to living by the golden rule in the physical world, she believed one must purify their thoughts in the spiritual world as well. And to achieve purity of thought, people must achieve freedom. Freedom from alcohol, freedom from tobacco, freedom from greed, and freedom from both internal and external conflict. As a young woman, she eloped. Shortly thereafter, her new husband, with World War II on the horizon, joined the Air Force rather than register for the draft. Mildred, by this time, was a passionate pacifist. She begged her husband to go to jail rather than go to war. She offered to visit him regularly in prison, but not one day on the battlefield. Their marriage was short-lived. With the divorce, the recent death of her father, and the unfulfilling job as a secretary, Mildred was now in crisis. For relief, she frequently walked in the woods at night, and on one fateful night, when she walked until dawn, she was exhausted, confused, and frustrated. She finally spoke these words to the universe, as she tells it: "If you can use me for anything, please use me. I withhold nothing." It was then I felt I had found what I was seeking. I experienced a complete willingness, without reservations whatsoever, to give my life to something beyond myself. Over the next 15 years, Mildred searched for her specific mission. She volunteered with many organizations, helping senior citizens and special needs people. But it was working with peace organizations that Mildred was most drawn. During this period, she became a vegetarian and gave up the only vice she had ever had, caffeine. She stopped eating all products with refined sugar. Just as one of her favorite authors, Thoreau, had done a century earlier, she spent a considerable part of her day in nature. She was the first woman to hike the entire Appalachian Trail in one season. With the Korean War and McCarthyism dominating the collective consciousness, it was just after that hike when a vision came to Mildred. She saw vividly in her mind a map of the United States with colored lines charting a course from Los Angeles to New York. She knew that instant what she was to do for the rest of her life. She was to begin a pilgrimage for peace. Mildred Norman divested herself of all possessions. This included her clothes, except for those she would wear on her pilgrimage, and whatever personal items would fit into a tunic. The blue tunic emblazoned on the front with the words "Peace Pilgram," and on the back, "Walking for Peace, Coast to Coast." To begin her journey, she took advantage of the free publicity the Rose Parade in Pasadena, California would provide. So it was on January 1st, 1953, that Mildred Norman, her name now officially Peace Pilgram, began her pilgrimage for world peace. As she walked among the floats, she passed out a self-authored press release claiming she was to remain a wanderer until mankind had learned the way of peace. The Peace Program literally began her pilgrimage without a penny in her pocket. She carried no money whatsoever, nor did she carry any food or snacks. She would walk until given shelter, fast until given food, and never asking for either. Her pilgrimage for peace would include 3 simple strategies: walk, answer mail, and speak of peace, in that order. She had a P.O. box set up in New Jersey where her sister would retrieve the mail and forward it to a city she would be visiting soon. She would crisscross the United States 7 different times. She walked in all 10 provinces of Canada and many states in Mexico. She stopped counting miles at 25,000. She would only accept the gift of new shoes when the ones she was wearing had totally worn out. Her tennis shoes lasted about 1,500 miles. So we know this because of the 29 occasions she accepted tennis shoes as a gift. In total, she walked approximately 43,500 miles. As her pilgrimage matured, she had personally assisted thousands of people in transforming their lives with her Steps to Inner Peace, which subsequently became a book. She carried on hundreds of correspondence, especially with young girls, assisting them in finding peace in their lives. She was asked to head up organizations for world peace, or if not lead, at least lend her name to such organizations. She declined all these offers. She was emphatic. She was no guru. She was a pilgrim. Peace Pilgrim would accept no money. Good Samaritans would often offer her sandwiches or snacks for the road. She would decline to take them. Why burden myself with something I don't need? When I need food, it will be provided. It was on July 7th, 1981, after a 28-year pilgrimage, that the Peace Pilgrim's journey came to a sudden end. As a result of a head-on car collision, she was killed instantly. In the later years, she would accept car rides for those many lectures she gave at colleges, churches, and civic events, and to radio and television stations where she often gave interviews. The three-part strategy of her pilgrimage remained the same all those years, but in later years it ranked differently. She was to speak first, answer mail second, and walk third. There are so many remarkable aspects to her 28-year Odyssey, it would be impossible to list them all. The Peace Pilgrim never fell ill, not so much as a headache. No sprained ankle, no knee or hip problems. She would walk through scorching deserts with no hat, suffered no heat stroke, no sunburn. She organized her routes so that she would walk with the favorable weather conditions, therefore avoiding the extreme heat and cold. She did, however, tell of a story when she almost died, when an out-of-the-season blizzard struck one of the northern states. It was the typical near-death story. She encountered angelic beings in a glorious dimension that she could not fathom leaving. However, she was told it was not her time yet. Her work was not complete, and she was then guided to a highway underpass where there was a large cardboard box in which she took shelter until the storm had passed. The Peace Pilgrim saw a spark of divinity in every single person she came across, and she believed people were aware she saw this spark in them, and they responded in kind. Hence, in all those years, she never missed more than 4 or 5 consecutive meals. Often she would sleep in parks, outside public buildings, or even by the side of the road. Aside from being arrested twice for vagrancy, she was never harmed or assaulted during all those years on the road. In her lectures, she claimed all humans can access a source of energy that is infinitely greater than youthful energy. And it was that energy that sustained her. She believed world peace could never come until we as a human race found inner peace. Her strategies for inner peace are still being taught in many prisons today. Friends of Peace Pilgrim is an organization that formed to carry on her message, and 500,000 copies of their book, Peace Pilgrim, Her Life and Work, in her own words, have been distributed worldwide. 1.5 million copies of her book, Steps to Inner Peace, have been sent to over 100 countries and translated into 12 different languages. Yes, the Peace Pilgrim was a modern-day Francis of Assisi. Dare I say, if she had been a man, her name would be probably uttered in the same breath as Eckhart Tolle, Mahatma Gandhi, and Ralph Waldo Emerson. Speaking of Emerson, Peace Pilgrim might have been the most effective itinerant speaker since him. Once upon a time, I was a member of the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce and was asked to participate with one of their civic group's New Year's program. The program theme was the Year of Personal Transformation. That was the first time I gave a speech about the Peace Pilgrim. In addition to having a significant tie to the city, the story spoke directly to personal transformation. And as I said so many times, stories do what bullet points could never do. They communicate nuance and capture the complexities of life. Storytelling is the single most important tool in a speaker's toolbox. In this podcast, we will continuously explore storytelling. But for today, for my part, that's all there is. If you're listening, please follow. If you're watching, subscribe. With either, please like and comment. This is Dan Riley taking you on an Odyssey into Oratory.